Thank you guys for showing up today. We're thrilled to be here. Also, Police Sergeant Major, please excuse my ratty field uniform. We're going to be under arms here shortly with some new tactical cyber tools that we've been developing at the Army Cyber Institute. So today, as you can see, we're going to do an exploration of tactical cyber. We're going to look at from an expeditionary making lens, thinking of ways that expeditionary making can enable combat arms maneuver. But before we do that, we're going to have to go over a few subjects. The first is our disclaimer. Please note that the ideas and thoughts you hear in this presentation are ours and ours alone. We do not represent anyone else. We'd also like to give out a special shout out to the 780th MI Brigade, who continue to lead in the Cyber Support to Corps and Below initiative, as well as the 75th Ranger Regiment, Army Cyber Command, the Cyber Center of Excellence, and United States Military Academy for their continued support of our research. So we're going to speak to you about tactical cyber in a narrative format. I'm going to role play a rifle company commander, and then Brent is going to follow up as an expeditionary maker team leader, and he's going to talk about some things. And it's going to be in this format. First, we're going to identify a tactical problem, which will be my job. Brent will then identify a technical solution to that tactical problem, followed by a proof of concept that we did near West Point earlier this month. Additionally, we're going to discuss a convergence of traditional doctrine and potentially entrepreneurial thought, and then we'll go into some recommendations for future work. So, a little bit about me. I've served as an infantryman in both conventional and special operations units, and most recently served as the Regimental Technical Operations Chief for 75th Ranger Regiment, where I conducted technical surveillance as well as electronic reconnaissance. So based off my background, I'm going to role play that rifle company commander who's got that tactical problem and he needs a technical solution for. So this is Objective Wave. He's one bad dude. He's a social media czar for the Ethiopian Freedom Force, a terrorist organization out of Ethiopia. We've been trying to get him for the past 3 months. We've conducted 2 raids, both unsuccessful. They were dry holes. The primary purpose is he operates in targeted compounds that are underground buried bunkers with electronically locking door mechanisms. So it turns out we go push assault up to the objective, we go to the main entry point, we try to breach it, unsuccessful, we go ballistic, mechanical, or explosive, and eventually warn Objective Wave, and he'd square off the objective through underground tunnels, and it was a dry hole. Very unfortunate. Here's a little bit more about Objective Wave. He's a millennial, he's very tech savvy, his operational security is impeccable. To take him off the battlefield would prove significant to my joint task force in achieving our mission. He's very highly elusive, and but there's actually some good news. Through other cyber means, we've been able to geolocate him to a new target compound. This target compound is also an underground bunker with electronic locking mechanisms on its main entry points. And it looks like he's going to be at this bed down location for approximately 24 hours. So I need to be wheels up in the next 12 hours, no later than, going towards this objective to take Objective Wave off the battlefield. So with that, Brent, my tactical maker team leader, I'm going to have to orient you to our map here. So this is Ao Monte. You have the northern seeking area here. It's bisected by the Hudson River. On the west, you have Ao Monte West, and on the east, you have Ao Monte East. Objective Wave's target compound is located on the northwest of Ao Monte. And approximately 4,900 feet to the southeast is a tentative cyber support by fire that I've been working with a platoon leader conceptually to establish on this hilltop located here. So if you look at the bottom left-hand picture, you're going to see Objective Wave, the target compound, as seen from that hilltop with a cyber support by fire. If you look at the bottom right-hand picture, it's going to be that cyber support by fire position as seen from Objective Wave. So briefly, let's go into the scheme maneuver. Talking with the platoon leader, who's going to lead this operation as a strike force commander, he's going to break up into 3 elements. First, we're going to have an overwatch or support by fire position. Next, we're going to have a security element. And then lastly, we're going to have an assault element. So to talk about it, we're going to push a cyber support by fire position to overwatch objective waves target compound. Once that's established, we'll push blocking positions to the south and north of the target compound to get good isolation of that compound and contain it so no squares can come off it. So once we have good overwatch and good containment and isolation on that objective, we need to push our assaulters through the target compound to clear it and hopefully take objective wave off the battlefield. One note is that when we push our assaulters to that target compound, again, an underground bunker with electronically locking mechanisms on the main entry points, we need some way to breach that compound, electronically maybe, without warning objective wave. So, as you can see here, this is our platoon mission. On order, X platoon clears the objective wave target compound in order to disrupt enemy FREMA maneuver in cyberspace. So Brent, what I need from you, what I need from your team, is a way to remotely affect that mechanically locking mechanism on the target compound so I can push through with my assaulters cleanly and clear it and not have objective wave square off the objective. Can you help me?
Eric, this is a pretty tricky problem, something we really haven't seen before. But as far as I understand it, we've got this new, very highly protected compound. We've got some type of industrial control system. We've got a network that it's on. It's wireless, thankfully. And I know you need to move out pretty quick. So I think I've got a solution for you. My team and I, our team of military MacGyvers, we're part of the Expeditionary Maker module. And what we do is we provide solutions to maneuver commanders like you in deployed environments. Right? We use off-the-shelf components. We use some of the parts of machines that I've got here that I'm traveling with, 3D printers, CNC machines, some lathes, to really fabricate custom parts very, very, very quickly. I think I have an idea of how we can approach this. So my team and I, we've come up, I know it's not perfect, but we've come up with this very simple thing that's been done time and time again, the cantenna, right? Cantenna is really just a directional antenna. So using some off-the-shelf parts, a little bit of knowledge about electromagnetics, a cookie can, a little radio adapter, and a piece of a wire hanger, I'm able to fabricate this directional antenna. Again, not a perfect solution, but we did this in about half an hour, and we think that this could possibly work for you. So there it is. There's some photos of how we made it. Again, very quick. It only took one guy, about half an hour, cost of about $10. And we think this is about a B+ or A- solution. But we got to make sure it works, right? In theory, it should work. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a moment and just talk about the training exercise without troops that the Strategic Initiative Group, Eric, I, and another captain, Matt Hutchison, did in order to prove the practicality of our cantenna. So here you are, as Eric had already described. Oh, there I am, again. We've got our tool. And we've got objective wave on the west side of the Hudson River. We've got our cyber support by fire position and our release point. So what we did one morning for PT is we took a trip out to objective wave, which is a parking lot at the Fort Montgomery historic site. What we did at that point is we got into one of our vehicles, activated an access point to simulate that target with a battery. We put it in the trunk of one of our vehicles. We left that vehicle there in that parking lot. We proceeded south towards the Bear Mountain Bridge. We crossed the Bear Mountain Bridge in another vehicle, the three of us, to our release point. Once we got to that release point, we began the ascent to that cyber support by fire position, as you can see. So there it is, about 4,900 feet away, our cyber support by fire position. Okay, so we got to the top. You can see Eric there pointing out the location of that vehicle. And on the right-hand side, you've got where we think is the parking lot, but it's kind of tough to see, right? Almost a mile away, it's going to be pretty hard to locate this thing. So we were like, oh no, will this thing even work? So what we then did is we pulled out of our rucksack, we had a laptop, we had our cantenna, we hooked it up, it didn't take very long. Our security element / photographer took his place, and we started seeing if we could locate this network. So about 30 seconds later, Eric's pointing the cantenna on the laptop, and sure enough, the access point comes up. Pretty good reading, too. So we're like, wow, we're kind of pleasantly surprised this thing worked out so well. So once we solved the network, we're like, well, we need to make sure that the fidelity is there. So we attempted to log on to that network. We were able to successfully get onto the network, and I had pre-positioned a file there just to sort of to demonstrate that I was able to get into this ICS system. So I accessed my pre-positioned file, which is basically a website, did a couple transfers up and down, and sure enough, it worked. So we said at that point, wow, this is pretty successful. This worked. This was a successful training exercise without troops. So we declared it a success. But the question is, why aren't we doing this more, right? This seemed very easy, very low cost. 3 captains going out for PT one day, nearby, on the hilltop, right? We get a little workout in, we get a little technical workout in and physical workout in. Why aren't we doing this more? Is it an acquisition problem in terms of the technology? Is it just lack of awareness in terms of our personnel out there, our commanders specifically? Is it just grasping this concept of what tactical cyber is and how we enable them? Well, we think it's all of those things, but the important thing here is that it's not a technical solution alone, right? People matter, right? So we want to, for a moment here, I'm going to discuss this idea of innovation, getting thinkers, folks who think outside the box, engaged and involved. So on the note of innovation, I'm going to frame it using this concept called open innovation, presented by Dr. Henry Chesbrough over at the UC Berkeley School of Business. And he thinks of this idea of rather like during the research and development portion in our organization in the Army, having sort of porous borders, sort of looking left and right laterally, understanding what's out there on the market, consuming some of that, sharing in fact. And we understand that the risks go up, right, in terms of loss of intellectual property, reduce OPSEC posture. But it's important, and in some cases we think it'll work rather well and complement our existing process. So this open innovation, we think works well with the existing operations process. The operations process, as you know, is this idea of components of plan, prepare, and execute with constant assessment going on and driven by the commander. It's something that's worked very, very well for the Army over the last few decades. But it's sort of an artifact of the Cold War era. It was developed during that time, and it worked really well, don't get me wrong. But it was for an adversary where it was easily outlined, that we knew what the force was, we knew the capabilities, but we needed sort of a process that's faster, given the current state of technology and how we evolve in terms of material, procedures, and techniques. So we present this idea of, based on the innovation concept, this innovation component, right? It's also got 3 parts. We call it discovery, make, and exploit. And discovery is this idea where we leverage open innovation, we see what's out there, to our left and to our right, and we say, no, there's some goodness here, we can use this, and we move on to the make part. Right? We use some of those talented makers, folks who come up with this or have this on a shelf somewhere, and we say, let's use some of those things that we find out there, and let's put it to use. Let's make something. Either it can be something physical, or it could be a new technique, or a new idea on how to run an organization. And finally, we've got the third part, this exploit, and that is operationalizing our ideas, that thing that we made. Right? And we think this innovation component is important because it enables things like, in complementing the operations process, it helps us develop things like this, right? Again, a cost of about $10 or $11. Cost in terms of man hours was 1 hour. Build time, so not very significant, we think, and certainly appropriate for a quick turnaround mission such as that which Eric described. But I do have one more thing. Eric's presented this problem. We've been thinking about it for a while. I've been working on it hard. Even after his mission, I've been working on it. So my team of military makers and I have come up with an extension of what we discussed before. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to introduce our Generation 2 of our project, and we call it the Cyber Capability Rifle. Right? And the Cyber Capability Rifle is really the same thing that you saw before, laptop, antenna, power source, but all in one convenient package. And please excuse the light discipline. During operations, we'll turn this off, right? But we've got the Cyber Capability Rifle, and really this is about the same thing. It's got a directional antenna, just like the antenna. It's got onboard battery pack that fits conveniently into the magazine well. Right? So this can be tailored, and it's extremely modular in design. It's got onboard computing in the form of a Raspberry Pi. So imagine, given the right intel, I know what I'm trying to exploit. I could preload that exploit and fire away. And this is very familiar and very important for the warfighter because they understand what this is. They look at that and say, what is it? Explain it to me. How does it work? With this, they understand the trigger, right? So we think this is extremely powerful and extremely important in how potentially we can leverage cyber on the battlefield. And I increased all of our costs by 1 order of magnitude. So this was about $150 to build, and it took me about 10 hours to perfect to get to this state. And there's a whole lot of potential here. $150. Can you imagine what a defense contractor might charge for this in terms of time or money? No, that's not. That's not. Sorry for those contractors out there. But this is important. And this is just one example of what we think is possible out there. Not a whole lot of investment other than recognizing and enabling those special makers and those special thinkers out there. We've got some plans for this, okay? It's nice and pretty to have them hanging on my wall, but I want to use it. So we've got some ideas for future work at the United States Military Academy. During the summer between the freshman and sophomore years, cadets go through cadet field training. And this is sort of their familiarization, their experience to all the branches of the Army, their first experience for many of them. So if we can show them this thing, so for those who want to be future maneuver commanders, they say, oh man, I remember back to my summer, there was a cyber guy, he had a rifle, throwing it around, and maybe I can use one of those in my maneuver operations. For those who want to get into tech, they can be the builders, right? Those future cyber officers themselves. We're looking at integrating this into the cadet leader development training between the sophomore and junior year, where cadets understand or practice how to enable on the battlefield. And that's important. It's beyond just familiarization. It's now putting it into play. So imagine we have our operation or our Project Hudson Wave. We have an electronically locking door at a mount site. And we get our future cyber officers, those interested in cyber, such as those from the cadet competitive cyber team or SIGSAG, some of our very talented cadets, get them on this. Have them build this, go through the process, understand how it works, understand the customers, so everyone's involved. That's extremely powerful. But we haven't forgotten RTC, of course, so we're looking at extending into the RTC Advanced Field Course over at JBLM. I'm doing future upgrades, we're working on future upgrades for the cyber capability rifle and other upgrades and packages. So if you had a target that had a cell phone with Bluetooth, for example, you could swap the radio out. It's designed with these things in mind. Very versatile, we think. Now we also have additional field expedient cyber tools and perhaps maybe a cyber field kit. Something that all tactical cyber operators can just have. Their rucksack's ready, they're ready to go on mission, they just grab it and go. And this could have all types of tools that we're looking at developing. And finally, we're also looking at perhaps integrating this into an exercise for something that was discussed during the first CyberTalks, right? The Cyber Ranger School. Imagine having a culminating exercise or an FTX where this is involved. The planning and the exploitation, the usage of this tool. We think that can be enormously helpful in understanding cyber at the battlefield at the tactical level. And of course, maybe the cyber field leader course. These are all things that are in development. So we put these things, these ideas, and we put papers out at our website, at the Cyber Defense Review, so feel free to reach out. We're always looking for new ideas, new ways to apply these things. We're three captains up there just looking for things to do and ways to spend our time in a fun way that has enormous benefit to the Army, and we think this is one of those things. Feel free to reach out to us at Army Cyber Inns or at the Cyber Defense Review, and thank you for your attention. We'd love to take any questions at this time.